Like, absolutely, I put water in your fucking daughter's Sprite.
So this guy commented on the video we did on psilocybins and DMT.
Yeah.
And he said, you guys are cool, speak well, but you're giving a lot of false information about what happens with psilocybin and DMT.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, first of all, whenever we talked about DMT, it was all speculation because nobody here has ever done DMT.
Correct.
But I have done...
Well, I did it once, but I
have done mushrooms.
Was intoxicated.
I have done mushrooms a handful of times, and I might have to re-listen to the podcast, but I feel as though it's coming from my account of my experience with it.
I feel like you guys made it pretty clear that it was all... First off, everything we say is opinion. It's never fact unless we're reading something verbatim kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it's opinion.
And I think my big thing whenever we were talking about that was that it should be used for therapeutic purposes and not so much of a party thing, because it should be a sense of self-reflection. I think that was my big point whenever I said that. So I don't know. Yeah. I'd like to actually talk to that guy and be like, what did I get wrong?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an expert, man, come on the show. Damn.
Yeah, for sure. What was his name? Let's give him a shout out.
Graham Scott.
Graham Scott, bro. Hit us up, man. You want to fucking Skype and talk about drugs and shit, dude? I love that shit. We'll talk about experiences, man. That's my favorite thing to talk about is drug experiences. So
it is fun.
Hit us up, man.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, coming to you live from my house in the Midwest, where the weather is beautiful. It's a lot better. Things are cheering up, moods and all that shit, and it's fucking spring, man. It's spring. The supermoon's already been and done. It's a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive.
I love the fact that you said coming to you live, because the only people who are listening to this live right now are like the NSA. Because nobody on YouTube's listening to this live. They're going to see this tomorrow or a week from now or whatever.
It's true. You make good points.
But shout out to all my NSA homies listening live right now.
Yeah, shout out to the FBI agent that's assigned to Talk Junkies to make sure we're not doing anything too crazy. Shout out to that guy.
Yeah, shout out to all of them. Yeah. Or in the computer algorithm that
that's probably more likely what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Algorithms are cool. They're fun. But anyways, we got a lot of good stuff we want to talk about today, guys. We got some, we might talk a little bit about the Missouri gun laws, maybe some other stuff. I kind of wanted to touch bases on the deadly deer disease that's taking over America right now. I don't know if you guys want to get into that at all. But there's some other stuff too. I'm not too entirely sure.
I don't know anything about this deadly deer disease.
Deer disease.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I've been
crazy.
Focused on NCAA March Madness brackets to be worried about animals, man. break that shit down for me.
All right, man. So I think the first case that the first case they found was like in the 70s, and it was isolated. It was one account where they found a deer, or they knew of this disease. It started becoming more prevalent in like the 90s and early 2000s. In one or two states, Wyoming, Montana. And or Wisconsin. It's up in the northern states. And anyways, now it's in 24 states. So basically, what's going on right now is this deer disease. It's similar to mad cow disease.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like mad cow,
but it's not though. It's different because mad cow disease. How it started was, obviously they mass produce cow, or not mass produce, but they try. I mean, they do.
They would intravenously through feeding dead cows to cows through whatever. I don't know if they were using dead cows to fertilize.
No, they would
the grazing.
They would cut everything off the cow that you could eat, right?
Yeah.
And then the bones, the brain, all the shit that you wouldn't eat, the organs, they would break it down into like a mulch, and they would put it on fire over 1,000 degrees, and somehow that bacteria grew on it afterwards, and they would feed that to the cows because they thought it would make them grow faster, stronger, all that shit. So they were eating themselves. That's how mad cow disease started.
Yeah, through some way. I didn't know the specifics, but
who would think that cannibalism would be bad for a species?
Right. Well, I guess there are tribes out there that actually developed mad cow disease because they ate each other, and it was in the organs and stuff like that. So
I feel like that's never worked out for anybody. Someone who's like, I want to live forever, so I think I'm going to eat the brains of other human beings. Like, yeah, you're just psycho. You're not going to live forever.
Right.
Yeah, but mad cow disease, man. I remember that. Like, I was a kid, 8 years old. And being freaked out about eating a fucking cheeseburger. And my parents were freaked out. It was a big media scare.
Yeah.
For 6 months to a year over that shit. It didn't start in in the U.S. I don't think, but I remember like people were freaking out.
See, I never felt like we were afraid of mad cow disease or anything like that. I remember the biggest ones I think were like E. coli breakouts and shit like that. Were the ones where certain produce or meat or whatever you were like, yeah, we can't do that.
Well, mad cow disease was meat, and E. coli. I mean, like on produce for sure. That's scary. It's very scary. And we had an outbreak, or a couple months ago, with romaine. But anyways, the thing is with this is it's not affecting humans right now, or that we know of. So basically,
it's just deer dying from the disease.
It's deer and elk, yes, and it's spread to other countries as well because people will buy deer and they'll ship them off to South Korea, shit like that. But anyway, so basically, they'll show no signs for up to 2 years of having this disease. So if you're a hunter, you kill a big elk or big deer, you eat it, you're consuming this disease, but it's still not affecting humans. And the question is, when or if will it happen? But anyways, so they'll die after 2 years. It slowly goes to their brain, and that's why they call it the zombie deer disease or whatever, because they turn into zombies basically towards the end of their lifespan. But it literally right now, sorry, I watched the podcast a week ago now. Things are starting to diminish in my head. Hopefully I don't have the disease. I don't eat any deer. But anyways.
I think you're fine then, man.
Yeah, but
you'll be okay.
Yeah, so basically how it works is they spread it by its saliva. So if a deer like bends over, starts eating some grass, or if it urinates on grass, it'll actually make a chemical bond with the plant. It won't stay on the plant. It bonds with the plant. The disease does. So that's how scary it is. Now, it hasn't necessarily crossed over to other animals yet, but they have tested it on certain animals, and they tested it on mice and mouse, whatever. Sorry, I don't know the correct wording on that, but
one mouse. They tested on one singular mouse.
Mice.
Yeah. Sorry. So they tested it on multiple
mouse eye.
Yeah, I'm confusing myself. But anyways, it didn't affect, I don't know how many, but it did affect one, and one was able to develop the disease. So we are seeing...
So it can go between species.
Exactly. And it's a matter of if and when, if it could go to the human race. Because if so, 24 states, eventually it's going to be in all states where they're deer.
That's some scary shit. I hope that we have some really good minds back behind it, containing it,
Yeah, now more than ever it has, for sure. Like, they're not trying to, you can't, they're trying to make laws and make people aware of what's going on, and they're trying to tell hunters and stuff like that, like, hey, before you eat this deer, we have a free lab test where you can come get it tested to see if it has this disease, and so now I don't think, I would have to look into the law, but I don't think I could go to Wisconsin or Montana or Wyoming and buy a deer and bring it back to Missouri or a state that's not affected, because Missouri is affected as well. We do have the disease here.
Yeah.
But if you were in a state that wasn't, you wouldn't be able to bring a deer.
So it's become that big of a deal, though, where there's regulations being put in place now.
Exactly.
And I haven't really heard anything about. I've heard little tiny. I remember hearing 2 weeks ago something about it, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. Another disease spreading among animals. What's new?
Right. It's true.
Which that'll
bird
always,
flu all over again.
That'll always be a thing. It's just a part of our biological evolution. Is that you have these viruses and that cause diseases come about that the body hasn't been able to adapt. The body will then adapt, and then it's just a cycle. And then, the virus that causes the disease gets stronger and changes to something else.
Well, that's the scary part about it. So there was in one of the other countries, I forget, that had developed the disease, they actually sent in they made free range for anyone who wanted to hunt deer, and then they actually brought in pro sniper rifle army guys or whatever, and stuff like that to kill off all the deer. So they killed over 5,000 deer because in a single season, and then they didn't repopulate that area with deer for 5 years because they want to see how long it takes for the disease, because it's all over the plants.
So this has been happening for a while then.
Yeah.
This is nothing new.
Like I said, it was more prevalent in the 1990s and early 2000s, and that's when it really started to grow. But I can't remember if they said that the disease is, if it's clear free now, where they killed all those deer off and the elk and stuff like that. I'd have to go back and check it out. But I think they said that, they just wanted to see how long, if the disease was still there and still could survive without anything. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
On the grass and stuff. Because like you said, it bonded to that.
Because they don't have a cure, and they have no idea how long it can last.
Crazy shit.
Yeah.
Avoid deer for a while. If you see one, try to hit one with your car. Helping
here's population. Here's my problem with that, though, is this goes back to you literally just said that they did it in the 70s and it was early.
The first case was in the 70s.
But that we've had it. They talked about it in the 90s and the early 2000s. All this. So this has been around for a while. Why are we just now all of a sudden worried about it? We're like, it's almost like news articles just started writing about it again, and you're seeing this stuff pop up on Facebook or wherever. You know, like
I think because
it almost just seems like a scare tactic.
Well,
if this has been a thing for this amount of time.
It's not that it was less amount of states, and now suddenly it's just developed into even more states.
So the right amount of light's being shed on it, because you can't take a problem too seriously up until enough things have been affected by it. Because if you were to scrutinize every little thing that fucking happened in the world, everybody'd fucking be in a panic, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just freak out about one isolated incident back in the 70s. I understand that, but you still have to take it into account. And I guess it's just gained the momentum now to where it has, more widespread attention. Like, fuck if I know about some shit that's happening about deer right now.
The scary part about it is the guy there's a guy that works for the CDC or something like that, and he said that he thinks it's a probability that it eventually could move over to human beings. And he says when it does, it's not going to be an isolated event. It's going to be a rapid event that affects multiple.
See, that sounds like mad cow disease again. Yeah. Is the fucking...
That's what I'm saying, though. It's nothing new. We've all dealt with this.
But
this has been a thing.
They had a cure for mad cow disease. You know what I'm saying? They could isolate it and they could take care of it. They don't have a cure. They don't have a cure for it. They don't know how. And obviously, if it went into humans, they would find a way.
But deer is not nearly as consumed as like the beef industry.
True.
So,
I love deer. On an off note,
deer's too lean.
Great. No, I love deer.
Yeah, your sister brought us that deer that one time, and I could not eat it.
It's too lean, man.
I love deer.
Not enough fat content.
It was just sausage, though. It wasn't like steak or anything.
They're not lazy enough. If they're a little bit slightly lazier deers, get a little bit more fat content, sure, I'll fucking eat them. They're way too lean.
It's great for I wouldn't do steak. I wouldn't do like deer steak or whatever, but it's good for jerky.
And it's good. Mix it. I mean,
deer jerky.
Summer
good for
sausage,
jerky and summer sausage. Mixed. That's it.
Yeah.
Summer sausage and jerky.
But then you're mixing it with a high fat content protein, like
not so much with the jerky.
Pork. Well, like whenever you do like a sausage style. So at that point, you're just But yeah, just straight up deer though, yeah, it's way too lean.
That's all I got on that. I mean, there's really not much more to elaborate on it. I just wanted to make people aware of the situation. If you're hunting in Missouri, just be careful. Get it tested. See what's up. You never know.
It's fair.
Yeah.
They were saying that it could last up to 50 years in your body before it even had a reaction, is what they were saying.
Well, fuck. Fucking
stuff like that.
Liquor and
like,
cigarettes will kill half these Missourians before the fucking deer gets to their brain, man. Come on.
They say, it could last for 50 years in your body, but we also don't know anything about it and if it can even go over to the humans. So that just seems like a made up fucking number.
Right. That's true.
Like this is all these.
There's a difference between awareness and scare tactics. And
the thing is,
I'm on Johnny's side on this. It's almost a little bit more.
It's too scare tactic-y right now. You should still be aware, obviously. I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying everything you're telling me, like all these different bits of information and facts about it and stuff. I'm like, man, this all seems real fucking scare tactic-y.
Yeah, and it does seem scary. The guy that was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he was the guy from the CDC, and he explained it a lot better than I could. I was just giving my...
And I'm sure he's paid to explain it a certain way.
That's true. He's from the CDC. You're right. 100%.
What does CDC stand for again?
Center for Disease Control.
Center for Disease Control.
So moving on to... What do you guys want to move on to?
I want to talk about the Missouri gun law, man. This is big.
Yeah, for sure.
This is
huge.
big.
It's a huge step.
It is. It's massive.
And this affects people that, like, if you're listening and you're not in Missouri, this is big for you, too. Like, this is a huge thing for... like nationwide.
The fact that Missouri is the fucking first state to do some shit blows my mind, man.
That never happens.
Yeah, we're normally, and I think this is the reasoning why Missouri is kind of the last to do shit, is because we're so much of a mix of, like, obviously it's a lot of Bible Belt, it's a lot of Midwestern mentality. You're right, yeah, absolutely. it's still a red state. Even though we have gone blue, like with Clinton, both Clinton running for both terms, Missouri went Democratic on both that, but I guess for the most part we're a Republican state.
If we were going to be the first, it makes sense. Which you said this is you, not me. I'm just repeating it. But if we were going to be the first for something, it makes sense for it to be gun oriented.
Yeah, 100%.
No, what I was getting at is just such a mix of people, and it's so not, I don't know. Missouri's weird. I think it has to do with its central location and the kind of people that you get here. But
Paul, do you have it pulled up so we can go ahead and say what
So
we're actually talking about here?
So the bill would protect Second Amendment rights by refusing to allow any state officers to enforce any federal laws considered infringements on Second Amendment rights by the definitions of the bill. Those include any taxes, stamps, or fees exclusively applied to firearms, accessories, or ammunition. It applies to any registration of tracking those items. No person would have the authority under the state of Missouri to enforce those measures. All federal acts, laws, executive orders, administrative orders, court orders, rules, and regulations, whether past, present, or future, which infringe of the people's rights to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment to the United States, 1 in Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution, shall be invalid in this state. Shall not be recognized by this, shall not be recognized by the state, shall be specifically rejected by the state, and shall be considered null and void and no effect in this state.
So basically, in layman's terms, it means all the federal laws where they say, hey, you're not allowed to own a gun because of this reason, because you're a felon, or because of this or this. Missouri's basically saying on a state level, we're not gonna prosecute you, and it's illegal for our state troopers and stuff and anybody to prosecute you for that. The law that we have now passed says that you can own a weapon.
Yeah, anyone who deprives a citizen of Missouri of the Second Amendment rights under color of law would be subject to lawsuit or other redress. Sorry, I don't know if that was right.
I'm pretty sure that they're saying that they were going to go after them legally.
Official or qualified immunity would not apply. State officers who violate the law would be ineligible for employment by the state in any law enforcement or law enforcement supervisory capacity or by any political subdivision of the state.
Now, I think what needs to be said here about why this should be exciting, and obviously there's going to be people who are super pissed off about this, but I think the whole point is, and I guess this all has to do within your view, is that you have a state that has this general majority idea about what the gun policy should be. And they're like, well, this is our gun policy. This has to do with our constitutional rights. The federal government's not going to be able to step in and do anything against that. And we are
not only that,
we're taking a stand.
Not even the president.
Yeah, we're taking a stand against you as a standalone state. Like because that's initially how the government was created, is that it's supposed to be the separated, that every state should be able to govern themselves kind of thing. And I think this really is an really great standout example of how that should be, that the state is standing out alone and saying, we are governing ourselves here, and you're not going to just be able to come in here.
That's why I said it affects everybody, not just Missouri. Yeah. And the thing about this is, this has, even if you don't care, like, let's say, like, this isn't good because I don't like guns, blah, blah, blah. I don't think people should have guns, so on and so forth, whatnot. This doesn't matter for the gun part. This is great because we as a state are saying, have our own laws, we are our own state. We do not want things that are in the Constitution to be infringed upon by the federal government. We have our own, we're taking care of ourselves here, kind of thing. And that's over-exaggerating a little.
No, not at all. That's beautiful.
But that's basically, because it means if more states are doing this it's the same thing with, like, marijuana. Like California and Absolutely. Colorado and stuff being like, yo, you can recreational use weed.
So I'm gonna use
the feds still step in, they still close places down and stuff, but nobody is getting in trouble on a state level for any of that shit because they're making their own laws and they're making a standpoint. And now we're making a standpoint as Missouri for the gun thing and saying, not only will you not get in trouble here, but we don't want the federal ones coming in and doing stuff about it.
The only downside to this is that we won't get any more federal funding from the government when it comes to military. We've raked in $34 million over the past 19 years. From the federal government, from stipends and all that good stuff for whatever reason that they give to law enforcement in Missouri. If this law does pass, which it has passed the Congress in Missouri, it has passed the Senate.
Governor just needs to sign off, right?
Exactly. Which he has said, from what people say he's going to, they will no longer get that funding.
What funding?
From the federal government.
What, just police?
Just for whatever.
The federal government that we pay for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so ironic.
Yeah, cool. Cool, man.
It's beautiful. Like, you put it best, Johnny. I mean, that's just them stepping up for the little man who doesn't really have a voice. Like, when it comes to voting and stuff like that, and we don't think that we have a voice. Like,
states should always be, I've said it multiple, Jesse and I have had this conversation multiple times. I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast, but honestly, like the federal government should be there for a unified economy. Like you don't want North Dakota to have a different currency than Missouri. No, I'm just saying.
I know. That's just funny to me to think about that.
No, but the federal government should so we should have a U.S. dollar. North Dakota shouldn't have a different type of currency than Florida. Like we should all have the same currency. We should have a unified military force that protects the United States as a whole. And then obviously there's the whole foreign trade laws and stuff should be all done on a federal level or on a national level, whatever. But like you could even get rid of, this sounds so weird, but you could get rid of the federal law about murder because every state is going to say don't murder people. Let states govern themselves. If one state says this is how much you pay for speeding and blah, 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 and another state says something different, that's fine. If one state says you're allowed to do meth in this state, then let them. Feds shouldn't step in at all. And if you don't like that, move out of that state. If you do like that, move into that state. And then that creates truly how it's supposed to be, where every state governs itself, but we all pay taxes and we all work together to keep the economy, foreign trade, or foreign affairs, and then military.
In some weird way to put this, you are saying that states should morally govern themselves. So any kind of moral issue where I don't know if you could break down everything to a fucking moral issue. I get that. But like gun control, abortion,
gay marriage, all of it.
All that
drug use
should be legalization of drugs.
All on state levels. The feds.
Everything should be state level. The federal government should have no say in any of that. And that states, because people live within that state, paid state taxes, have control over, who's the governor, all that should be able to.
And that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
It's always how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
And that's why other people talk about, like, why do these things work in other countries, but they don't work in the United States? The United States is fucking huge. Like, stuff that works in France is, I'm showing how much I don't actually know here by saying, like, size-wise or whatever, but I'm sure France is not, I can't think of a size, like, comparison.
You really need to look at population.
Population, but
size,
land.
I'm sure you're talking about
population, but land space too makes a huge difference. It's hard to.
There's more resources and other things that go into it. But yeah.
But no, the state should basically. You said it with the prostitution, drug use, alcohol laws, gun laws, all that kind of stuff. Abortion, like basically, if Florida decides, hey, we don't do gay marriage here, and you don't support that, move out of Florida. It's the same idea as like capitalism, really, as far as businesses go.
And you don't even have to move out, really. You just stay there, and this is just, this is the state that I'm living in, and try to.
And you would
change
still be
it.
No, that's if you're okay. I'm saying if you're morally, like, if I'm like, I don't agree with them at all, then you would leave that state and go somewhere else, kind of thing. But like, let's say Utah is well known for not doing a lot with alcohol. Like you got lower percentages. It's harder to buy there. All this kind of stuff.
Can't buy cigarettes in the same place that you.
If Utah completely wanted to say no alcohol whatsoever, we're a dry state, and everybody there agrees on that, it's a democracy, they should be able to say that, and you can't have any alcohol there. If you love that idea, then you get to move to Utah and be a part of that community. If you don't like that idea, move out and go to somewhere else that's like, we've only got beer if it's above 7%. Anything less is illegal. Like...
And oddly enough, I think that naturally happens within our biome, or whatever you want to call it. Like, let's say because look at it, like the Bible Belt, it just naturally happened this way, that the center of the United States is more Republican, Bible Belt, this type of morality. And then you go farther left to the East or West Coast, and then all of a sudden you see it more being liberal. Mm-hmm. That just didn't happen from a fucking whim. It's just people like-minded tend to be around like-minded people, and that's where they are.
But you still have the federal side stepping in and screwing things up.
And so
just think how much more naturally it could progress with no federal oversight on that.
Innovation would be big, for sure.
If all of a sudden, if North Dakota's like, yo, prostitution's legal here, and then people want to go to North Dakota, cool.
It's the new New York City or the new Las Vegas.
Exactly, that's my point. There's so many different, and then on the opposite, it's the same with what I've said about businesses and like smoking inside and stuff. If a bar wants to have smoking inside, that shouldn't be up to the city. That should be up to the owner of the bar. And if you don't like that, if you don't like walking in and there's smoke everywhere and you don't like secondhand smoke and stuff, that's capitalism. Don't go to that bar.
Yep.
Vice versa, if the owner thinks that he's losing customers because of smoking, he should say, okay, I'll make the decision to make it no smoking. That's all just...
Absolutely. So
and states should be the exact same way.
You're saying the the power is misconstrued, or it's completely wrong. Like the people who are deciding these factors shouldn't be making these decisions. So the federal government shouldn't be making these moral decisions, kind of thing about like
100 people who live in D.C. don't know what's good for someone in Missouri and what's good for someone in California and what's good for someone in Washington and someone in Florida and someone in Georgia. Like it's
this law is a prime example of what we're talking about. You know, so that's all it comes down to is what happened in Missouri is the first state to do it out of all 50 states. It's beautiful. It's what the Constitution was about. It's old school. It's how this country was formed and the idea of what it is. This is it. And we finally have it back. You know, and Missouri is the first state when I heard it and I watched the video from High Impact Flicks. I thought it was going to be a different state, you know, like Texas or, you know, a big gun state. And he said Missouri, and I'm like, no way. Like, no way. There's no way it's Missouri. And it's Missouri, man.
I thought you were bullshitting me whenever you sent me the link. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, when you told me about it a couple of days ago, I was like, this sound like what?
I was expecting to get like Rick rolled. Like I was about to like pull it up and then never gonna give you up. I was like, no. I was like, fuck, this is real, man. I was like, good for us. But exactly. It's the concept that
it's not about the guns. It's the
exactly.
It's
the overall concept of it. You could be angry about guns or whatever, but if you're angry about whatever's happening on a federal government level, this should be a breath of fresh air to you, to where the state that you live in can now take some and be empowered of the morality that you want to be shown in the state that you live in, and that it's more separated and not this big singular, just a couple people deciding what's right for fucking everybody else, and it's more separated, but we can have respect for each other.
That's the other thing is states actually need to start doing this and start doing it now, not just with guns, with whatever. They have to, because if they don't, this won't work. You have to be unified in the sense of, I'm using unified the wrong way, but all the states should be able to say, hey, we're making our own rules, we're making our own laws now that are separate from the federal. Federal can't come in and change that shit, so on and so forth. Because if it's just Missouri doing it, then it won't have an effect, because the feds will still come in and do stuff. And we can be like, Missouri can be like, hey, if a federal agent comes in here and does stuff, we're going to prosecute them. That doesn't matter. The feds are going to have the feds' backs. Like but
they're getting tried in Missouri.
Okay.
No, that doesn't matter. You still get tried on a federal level. You still get the state of Missouri is not going to have your back. You're still going to be fucked on a federal level if you think you could just go out and buy a gun for any reason.
But the state of Missouri can prosecute that federal agent.
Okay, so here's what happens: the state of Missouri prosecutes that federal agent. What do you think happens? You think they're going to jail?
I don't know yet. We haven't seen it.
No one knows.
No, the Fed will. No one knows yet.
What I'm saying though is, there's no way a federal agent comes in,
think about it like
does something, and then.
Think about it.
We put them in a Missouri state jail,
but hold on.
And they don't get out.
So you made an example earlier with like the marijuana and how it's being passed in multiple states. It's still illegal. It's still federally illegal to do it, but they don't have it within the statute when they pass it within the marijuana law, saying, hey, if you come in here to our state and we say it's cool to smoke marijuana, and any federal agent comes in here, we're gonna arrest that federal agent.
What you were just reading also doesn't say that.
What
you were talking about the other day when you brought this up. You said that if a federal agent came in, they could be prosecuted. None of what you just read a second ago says that. It said we could only prosecute state level, meaning that if a Missouri official...
No, it said federal as well. I promise you it's in there.
Okay. I'll have to look at that again, or you'll have to read it, or I'll find that, because I heard was you saying on a state level.
But just for anybody out there who thinks you can just go and get a gun and now, I can do whatever I want with a gun. No, you still get prosecuted on a federal level, and that's still a very viable branch of government.
Yeah. Big time.
That you need to be aware of.
The point is, this is states taking a step in the right direction.
100%.
It's saying that we are driven, and I think it's a really empowering thing closer to the individual as opposed to just Donald Trump or just the federal government. I think it's bringing a little bit more power, because you're separating it down to individuals like me and you who are just Missourians. And
I think it's really good that
it's giving an individual more power by doing this whole thing in the end.
It's good that guns is the thing that got brought up. Whether you like or dislike guns, it's great that guns is the thing that got brought up, though, as part of this law, because it's in the Constitution. You know what I mean? Or the Second Amendment or whatever rights say that you're allowed to bear arms or whatever. I'm zoning out right now. Jesus.
Yeah, it happened to me a few times already.
Anyways, my point is that it's a good thing it happened with guns because there's nothing in the Constitution. The Second Amendment's like you have the right to smoke marijuana. Like, no, it's talking about guns. So it's a good thing that is the thing that we're putting on, display here.
Yeah, I mean, guns are everything, in my opinion, especially in today's age. I mean, if you need to protect yourself and your family,
I'm not talking about that. You can
No,
I'm saying
I know
whatever we brought up, the fact that it's on a constitutional level.
Right.
Weed's not on a constitutional level. You know
Very
what I mean?
true.
Like, that wasn't written in there back in 1776 or whatever.
Well, and I know you and I talked about, like, it's really not that, like, we don't vote. You don't vote, right? I don't vote. I voted once.
I've voted twice. I didn't vote this last time. I still vote, but I didn't this last one.
But I think that this gives me more of a reason to vote, especially on the state level, because if people start doing more stuff like this, then I want to be more involved in it. And I want to know what do they think? What are they going to try and pass? Because this isn't the first time this bill's tried. This is like the third time. There was like once in 2013 and then another time in like 2014. So it's been up twice within the Missouri Senate, and it's passed both times, but there were certain people who kind of just flip-flopped around and then they didn't sign, and that's why it didn't pass.
Also, you talking about the voting thing, like, I think voting on a state level is super important, like, very, very important and all that. One problem with it, though, and I didn't even think about this till just now, like, I'm going to ask you guys, someone throw it in the comments or something. How do you know when the presidential election is, right? You're not like, you don't wake up the day of and you're like, oh man, what is today? Like, there's so much media coverage about it. There's so much about it all the time. You know when the presidential election's coming up. You know what November it's coming up. You know what year it's happening. You know when everything's going down. You know the day you're supposed to go vote and all that. I've forgotten, though, what days I'm supposed to vote for state stuff.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
not enough out there about it. There's
No.
not enough awareness to be like, yo, these are what we're talking about. These are the issues. Go and vote on this day kind of thing. Yeah, it's out there, but it's not like easily. I almost feel like you have to go out of your way and really, really try.
Well, no, if you check your mail every day and you're registered to vote, you'll get stuff in the mail saying, hey, like, get ready to vote and stuff like that.
But it's not to the point to where people care nearly as much as the federal level.
Are you kidding me? Like, whenever states or when it's state elections that come up, like when it's for governor or for Senate or, every 2 years or whatever, it's all over the TV. It's on every single channel. It's on 4 or 5, your local channels, and it's nonstop ads.
I don't watch anything local.
I'm just saying if you watch TV. And
I watch YouTube.
Unfortunately, whenever the last time Missouri had an election, I watch TV. I don't anymore, but it's all they played.
I'm just saying they need to step up the game. Throw that shit on YouTube. You got the presidential election stuff on YouTube.
It was on YouTube. Every time an ad would come up, Clear McCaskill. Every single time.
Yeah, I know about those. I'm talking about like the smaller scale stuff, like when certain statutes are being passed and shit like that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I don't hardly ever see anything about those until like the day of, or until 5 days later when they're like, "Hey, guess what passed?" And I'm like, I didn't even fucking know about it. I guarantee you, I know when the presidential election is, though.
Yeah,
that's the only point I'm making there. It's way.
It's closer.
It's
to home.
almost. It's
closer
more
to home
important.
what's happening
It's closer to home, and it's
in our
more
state.
important to you. It affects you directly. But yes, I feel like you know less about it. Maybe that's just me, but I'm sure there's people out there who agree with me on that.
I think this will allow for a faster progression of things whenever all of a sudden states are able to come in and say, okay, this is how we're doing things, because now we don't have to fucking jump through your hoops, because there's no way. You cannot win with everybody with shit. Everybody's going to have an opposite view of somebody else at some point. So there's always going to be some red tape to fucking go through and somebody to fucking try to convince. But if you have a smaller section of government that's more empowered, now you're able to get things done faster because you have more like-minded individuals and you're able to go through this. And if it works, then it works. If it doesn't work, then you change it and you develop and you adapt to it. It's human life. Nobody has everything fucking right. If you claim to be a wise man, surely you don't know. Like kind of fucking thing. But I think it's going to speed up shit. Like you shouldn't have to be going through all these, federal government fucking bullshit. Like who are the fuck? They're so out of touch on the federal level. All those politicians are so out of touch with common every fucking day people. Bring it back to us a little bit and let us be able to do some shit on a state level. I think this is an absolute win.
Yes,
this is an absolute
but
win.
But like Johnny says, it has to catch on. It can't just be Missouri. It has to be multiple other states. And other states have done it with like marijuana and stuff like that.
Trust me, in the South,
yeah.
I guarantee you, Texas will probably be right fucking
I
back
guarantee you
behind
they're
us.
talking about it right now.
Yeah. Look at what Missouri's doing. Why the fuck haven't we done this shit? Like,
Well,
That blows my mind.
And not that it matters, but I'm wondering what kind of pushback there is from the federal government on this. I'm curious if, like, now that
a shit ton.
Now that it's out there, if they've actually someone's called the governor of Missouri and saying
you already said we're not getting
they took
funding.
away funding.
That's a huge push.
That's all.
It hasn't been signed into law yet. Is the
I'm
thing.
saying that if
but that's
it
their
is,
threat. That's their threat. Hey,
there's got to be more to it than that.
that's already big though. Is what I'm saying. You're talking about pushback. Not having funding from that's huge. That's massive.
It's got to be. I mean, what, $34 million over an 18-year period?
And
you break that down, that's like $2 million per year, a little less.
I don't
so
know.
It's not that much.
I don't know how you can take away funding from people who in the state of Missouri
I pay federal
give
taxes.
you money. I pay federal taxes every fucking year. So I don't know how you can take away our funding when we're just governing ourselves and we're still funding you. We're just saying you just have a little bit too much power, and we need to be able to govern ourselves a little bit more directly on a state level. Because at that point, I mean, like, You go any farther?
That's
in the
almost that
opposite direction?
taxation without representation bullshit right there.
Go any farther in the opposite direction? You're saying let's get rid of boundaries. Let's just be America or the United whatever. No longer United States, but just America. No boundaries, and then the federal government is the end all fucking be all.
They're the state.
Yeah, then they become the state,
and
you only see fucking problems with that shit.
I thought you said in way long ago in a podcast that you'd be okay if it was a one world government. You said it would be okay with open borders. Pretty sure you said that.
You still have to have these. I don't mean to use the word like biomes, but you still need to be separate. I'd have to go back and hear exactly what I said. I don't know. Things
you
should
just said
still
it's
be
like,
separated.
You said you're okay with the progression of where we're heading, and I think I had asked you if we ended up being just like anyone could go.
Right now,
anyone.
I'm trying to remember what I said. It's probably months ago.
I think I asked you if anyone could go. If we lived in a world where everyone could go everywhere, there was no borders, and people from Mexico could come here. And I remember I told you that
that's different than states having different laws, though. That's a completely different.
I'd have to hear what I said, and and whether or not I hold the same opinion, or I would like to add on to that or something. Yeah. I'm okay with what's happening right now. If I could stick with this.
Well, and like what you, I mean, just to go back to what you said, you're right. They don't really tell us much about the law. They just say vote Prop A.
If you're going to bring
Prop
up
B, that's it.
If you're going to bring up shit that I've
you
said,
have to look it up.
If you're going to bring up shit that I said about like hierarchies and corruption and things like that, with my view on hierarchies and corruption, you would like it broken down to different levels where people are able to govern themselves easier on a smaller level and not have so much power to an individual, because that corruption will always happen. If anything, I think this fits very much with my opinion about that to begin with. I'd have to go back and listen to what I said.
I think we're all in agreement on this, man. It's a beautiful thing.
No, it's great. It's a great step in the right direction. 100%.
So what else were we going to hit up tonight? I forget. There was one more thing that we were going to talk about.
So, you brought up the Netflix YouTube thing. I don't have a lot of input on that, though. I'm not real.
I really want to hit that.
Yeah.
Tonight.
So we hit the Missouri gun law. We hit the deadly deer disease.
Is there going to be a application for everything at some point?
Oh yeah, because about how power, like you were talking about earlier with the.
So basically, like we're doing, for all our listeners out there, the way that we do the NCAA March Madness brackets, I'm sure everybody knows at least a little bit something about that. We just do it on paper, but there's an app for that shit now, to where like next year I'm like, why don't we just fucking use the app? Eventually, is there just going to be always that? Like whenever you're like, oh, I want to, I want to do that. Oh, well, you haven't downloaded the app yet for it because it's fucking like.
No, there's an app for everything.
Not yet.
That's true. Not yet.
There's an app for everything, though.
True, but it has to be good. It has to be a good app. It has to be an interesting app. How many apps do you download and then instantly undownload that app because it's shitty?
Oh yeah, there's too many. But I'm saying that if there's, you said there was 2 podcasts ago, you said there was an app to avoid walking in California where homeless people shit.
In San Francisco.
Okay, how do you collect that data?
My point is, there's an app for avoiding where homeless people shit. Like I said, there's an app for everything. We live in like an app fucking age.
What's your favorite app?
I don't know.
You gotta have a favorite app. Okay, you don't know. What's your favorite app?
Internet, Safari,
Yeah, probably. That's a good one.
Mine's Imager.
Clash of Clans for sure. Other than Internet, but
I love Imager, man.
I guess you wouldn't really count
re-downloaded
Internet though
it,
as
some
an app.
addicted.
That's
you can
true.
Use the internet on your computer or whatever.
So already downloaded apps on the phone don't count. It has to be an app that you download.
Like you're not counting Messenger as an app, or not Facebook Messenger.
Obviously,
but, like,
those are fucking applications. I'm talking about like what's your fucking like I said, my shit's Imager. Like I love Imager. I love just scrolling through Imager and fucking.
I used to do the same thing
looking through
with
Imager,
9gag a lot. It's the same type of deal as
that's,
Imager.
Yeah, that's literally the origin of all that. But
Pinterest is cool if you're hungry and you need to figure something out to eat. Fucking Pinterest is legit.
I didn't know.
I just get on Google for that.
You were a 17-year-old girl, Paul.
Dude, Google sucks when it comes to trying to... Bro, once you get a wife and you have kids, you will argue. Or you don't argue. What do you want for dinner tonight? I don't know. What do you want?
So you get on your Pinterest and...
I undownloaded it for a while and I got it back. And even then, I just sit there and look at food for like 50 minutes. And I can't decide what I want to eat. Because I'm like, do I really want to make this? Do I really want to spend an hour trying to make this shit? And then I try and make it and it doesn't look anything like the picture on it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Of course, man.
I like Reddit. I use Reddit a lot. But see, once again, there's an app for that, but that's also just a website. Like you can go to that website on your computer.
yeah. I'd like to be more involved in Reddit. There's some cool shit that happens on Reddit. That's a free fucking app. I mean, like that's
Reddit's great. It's basically just like
that's liberty, man. That's the United States.
I don't know about all that, but
Dude, like people, I mean, a lot of shit that people post on there could be fake, but like you have like secret like government agents who go on there and like they say like they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like people put some shit on Reddit that
I don't know what parts of Reddit you're looking at. I'm just talking about normal community Reddits.
Sorry,
like
I'm thinking of 4chan. I think.
Yeah, you're thinking of That's different.
Is that different?
That's different.
Okay, but is 4chan a person or is it an actual like website?
What? What are you talking about? No, 4chan's like a message board, like a forum board or whatever.
It's similar to Reddit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't used 4chan since I was 14 years old. So,
okay. But I think that's like when people like I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's
my favorite app is AOL Messenger.
yes,
AIM.
That was the shit, man. Did you do AIM?
No.
Dude, that's where it started. I mean, you'd get home from school. You know, I was like 7th, 8th grade. I'm just trying to talk to as many women as I can, as many women. So I just pull up AIM, Instant Messenger. My username was Talk to Me Pimp 15.
Oh shit!
I was just gonna say he's like you can hit me up at pwiz69420 at Hotmail.
No, man, it's Talk to Me Pimp. And dude, you just talk to as many people as you can from school and shit. Everyone had it. But you didn't have cell phones at the time.
God,
That's why AIM was the shit back in the day.
Yeah.
That's back when that form of communication was
Gold.
like before it was
Was
corrupted
new.
with trolls and the catfishing thing, which I don't know how quick that started up, but
Well, AIM
like the
was
dial up where you had to have the AOL fucking disc, put that shit in your tower and fucking
Your computer. You remember when it would connect to the internet and it made all these crazy robot noises and
it's
like
killing-
beeping and like there was a phone line going off and
killing
like
a small rodent somewhere inside of your shit. No, I remember that.
Well, AIM was cool because you'd have to like write a note to the girl, hey, what's your AIM? And then you get home from school, you type her AIM in, you find her, and then you start messaging her. So you're right, there were no trolls. Like you had to have your pen.
It was pure, man. It was pure.
Yeah.
It hadn't been fucked up yet. Like those are good times. Of course, you can just text.
I mean,
now.
I was like, you just have text messages
Yeah,
now.
which is
Everybody's
literally what that is. But you couldn't do that.
By the way, I don't like to call people out, but if you're on a plan where you don't have unlimited messages, get your shit together. Get your life together. There's homeless people who got unlimited fucking messaging on their phones.
There's no way.
I don't think there's no way that they have.
You can do like 100 texts a month or 1,000. You can do it. They have it.
How does that even still exist? And who buys those phones?
Probably like 70-year-old people, man. They don't text.
Yeah, they have to be in like.
Or like minutes? If you're limited on the number of minutes you can call someone?
I hated that shit.
I've unlimited everything.
Yeah, no,
especially
I'm
that
pretty
data.
sure-
Give
pretty
me that
sure-
unlimited data, son.
But it's truly not even unlimited. Like Sprint will slow your speeds down once you hit a certain amount.
There's I'm pretty sure
No,
that the one I have
Nope.
with Sprint is not throttled. I know what you're talking about. There's somewhere like if you go over 50 gigs, they'll throttle it and they slow your shit down.
Yeah.
There's plans where they don't.
No, I'm truly unlimited with my shit. I've never
what you
once
think.
been slowed down.
Do like 1 million in 1 month and tell me if they don't throttle your speeds
just-
a little bit.
Just like run
Yeah.
16 different Gordon Ramsay compilation fucking videos at once somehow on my phone.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, it still won't slow down. Sprint's got my back, son. It's a Kansas City-based company. I represent it. If you live in Kansas City, you don't have Sprint, fuck you. Fuck you. No, I'm sorry. Verizon has way better coverage. I remember being really pissed off, like downstairs in my room. before I had Wi-Fi during like transition period before I had internet, and I have Sprint, and I would have like one bar, and it'd be like 10 minutes of internet, and then like 15 minutes of me trying to have internet, and then I would have somebody downstairs in my room who had Verizon who was just like, "Oh man, it's so fast." I was like, "What's wrong with your signal right now?" I'd be so pissed. I was so pissed. So even downstairs in my room, Verizon still had better service, but you know.
No, I had Verizon in that basement. I still didn't get amazing coverage down there. Maybe it's changed.
It's not amazing, but it's not as bad as Sprint, which I don't know. I've been using Wi-Fi ever since, but
Wi-Fi booster or is the Wi-Fi box in your room?
No, it's not. It's in the
Wi-Fi box is upstairs.
Even with the Wi-Fi box,
Sprint.
and I had Sprint, it didn't go down to the room. It didn't at all. I had to get a Wi-Fi booster when I lived in that.
I just blame that house. That house is just the
It's all them lead walls and the lead paint.
data.
So
the lead paint on all the walls.
I think there is an app for everything, though. There truly is. There's an app for...
Not yet.
Well, yeah, for the most part.
Hey, by the way, if you guys have any really good ideas, like groundbreaking ideas for apps, just go ahead and personally message us and, just tell us your idea.
Yeah, we'll make it come into fruition for sure.
We'll collaborate on it.
No, the point I was making, and I think the point you were making and whatnot before getting into that was just, like you said, there's an app for everything, which is crazy.
But
we live in an app era.
Didn't we just say there wasn't, though?
Yeah, no, there's not, but there's a shit ton of apps. There clearly isn't an app for everything just yet because apps keep coming out. If there was an app for everything, they wouldn't be making any more new apps. Then there's always new applications coming out.
Yeah, truth of the matter. We do have some exciting stuff coming to Talk Junkies here in the next few weeks. I've reached out to some people. We have a guy named Mike Anderson coming on to the show here in hopefully a week. I know maybe after this we'll talk about what
we're the ancient history guy.
Yeah, he actually subscribed to us, so he might be listening to our show maybe tomorrow. So, nice. Mike, if you listen, man, we're really excited to do the podcast with you, man. We're going to have you on. It's going to be a great podcast. So we have some other people in the works as well. So
and way more structure than tonight because this was completely unplanned.
As most are.
This is the most... Like, this is what's fun about it, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, like, there's good ones with the structure, too, though, where you got the topics, like, written out ahead of time. We got everything planned out and stuff. Those go real well. I like these as well. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I mean, we're just getting a little loose for whatever podcast we have coming in the future. But I keep reaching out to people. I'm trying to get as many people as I can to come on the podcast. Sherrod was on last week. That was a fun and interesting podcast.
Oh, yeah, Jesse and I missed last week. It was St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day was...
It's Christmas for them, for these guys.
St. Patty's Day kind of took over my life for like 3 days.
I only got shit one time for wearing a kilt, which, by the way, shout out to Carl. Carl Adams was gracious enough to let me wear his authentic kilt from Scotland on St. Patty's Day. Shout out, brother.
Did people like it?
Yeah, no, I got a lot of compliments, but there was just one person who came up to me. And he was like, that's not Irish, right?
I remember that.
He's like, that's not Irish, right? And I was like, dude, go fuck yourself. Like, let me wear the fucking kilt, man. I get it. It felt good.
But anyways,
it felt good wearing a kilt.
We're excited. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. We're going to make some moves. We're going to get a lot of subs. People are going to listen to what we have to say.
Oh, and if you didn't listen to, I've been listening to last week's podcast, the one that we weren't on, where you had Sherrod on and stuff. If y'all haven't listened to that yet, check that out because it's real good. There's some there's good stuff in there.
Sherrod breaks it down pretty good.
It really changed my perspective on some things, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we don't live that life. We're not in that life, so it's very interesting to have someone who's lived that life. So, and just to see what he has to say about that. I mean, it's at 42 views, so. We're slowly getting there, slowly building up.
We'll get there.
We're
not the View just yet, like daytime style kind of ratings, but we'll get there.
Get Oprah Winfrey on this bitch, man.
I would love to fucking have lunch with Oprah Winfrey.
Who wouldn't?
I would love that shit. What would be the first thing you'd ask Oprah, like sitting down with her?
I don't know, man.
I'd ask her,
like, when the fuck do you sleep? Like, Jesus. Like,
I would ask her what's underneath my chair. That's what I would ask her.
It's a brand nuke.
Yes. Paul for the win on that one. Paul for the fucking win.
Dude, Nikola Tesla, he only slept 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day.
There is a very low percentage of people that just biologically need like less sleep than other people. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I need 8 hours.
I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, see, you're on that other end than me. I feel like I need a shit.
We've talked about this before. Like it.
See, I think if you were to get on Johnny's sleep schedule, it would suck for the first month, but after a month, your body would adjust, and you could actually.
I don't think Jesse could do that.
I mean, there are people who
you're all about sleeping in and taking naps and all kinds of shit.
I love my bed.
So do I, but I think if your body can do anything, you'd be surprised.
I only love my bed and my mama. I'm sorry.
Well, we are 10 minutes short of an hour, but I don't think we have anything else.
No, yeah, we always have some other shit. We always have some other shit.
It's just
hold on.
Free form tonight. You know what I mean?
First of all,
free form fucking podcast tonight. We're back. We weren't here last week. Paul pulled it together and took care of things for us last week.
I'm sure there are some people out there that are listening right now that enjoy a nice whiskey, and the gentleman to my left is really upset that he cannot find a very
on the camera
well-balanced.
It'd be the gentleman to your right, by the way.
Well, no, you're on his left.
Yeah.
True. My bad.
The fuck, Paul.
The camera doesn't change what arm Jesse fucking writes with.
Yeah. It doesn't flip reality. That's not how cameras work. But so the gentleman to my left is really looking for a nice Canadian whiskey.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't think it exists. But if anybody out there has ever had a really
you guys are just
good
haters
Canadian
of
whiskey,
fucking Canada, man.
No, I'm bourbon, man. I'm bourbon.
That's fine.
Give me bourbon.
I like Crown Royal. I love Canadian whiskey. I love every bit of it.
Nah.
If you would have had that 50th year edition shit they had, that shit was so good. So good.
I'm not a big Crown fan. Literally the only time I have Crown Royal is if it's in like Vegas bombs mixed with a whole bunch of other bullshit. I never just drink I don't drink like Crown and Coke.
You don't like the Black Reserve?
What?
The Crown.
I haven't tried that one.
It's good. It's good.
In comparison to the what is it? The Woodford?
I like the
Woodford is fucking phenomenal. No, that other what's it called?
I don't know what it's called, but it's good.
It's a bourbon, which is good. It's just a burst.
I'm talking about the new one you got. What was it? Redemption.
Yeah,
Redemption.
Yeah.
Redemption. The shit, like something about a Woodford just bursts. It's smooth. It just bursts in your fucking mouth. You don't get that shit from Canadian fucking whiskeys.
It's possible. It's cold up there, man. Imagine what it does to the lick.
I don't know. Canadian whiskey always just tastes really dry and like it doesn't have any fucking. There's nothing.
You're right. It does have a dry taste to it. You're right. That has a lot more flavor. But I mean, the more expensive you purchase alcohol, I've noticed it tastes so much better.
Oh,
from what I've noticed,
of course.
But I hear that Aldi's has like a really good whiskey. They won like a lot of awards, so I need to try that out. It's like $10, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll test run that.
How about that Jorvik vodka? Super super cheap, but everybody's been talking about it, and it's like made here in Missouri and all that shit.
Really?
It's actually it's super cheap. Like you talk about cheap vodka, it's like $9 for a handle. Like there's no way it should be good. It's actually pretty decent vodka. Like it's not Ciroc by any means.
It's better than Gordon's?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, by far.
Legacy?
By far. What? Yeah. I haven't had Legacy.
What's the worst liquor you've ever had in your life?
Pepe Lopez Silver.
What's that story, man?
Why do you think there's a story there?
Because you wouldn't have answered so fucking fast.
No, the worst liquor I've ever had in my life is Pepe Lopez Silver. It's a tequila. It's super cheap tequila, and I like cheap tequila. Like, give me Tortilla Gold, Matador, all these just bottom of the barrel fucking tequilas. It was probably
a white tequila.
It was, yeah. I said silver.
Not a silver. Probably a white tequila.
No, I think it says silver on it. It's not Blanco or whatever. Like it says silver.
Yeah, your cheap shit's gonna be silver.
But
no, your cheap shit's gonna be white.
Yeah, the
Blanco.
Blanco.
White tequila.
Anyways, Pepe Lopez Silver, worst liquor I've ever had in my entire life. I would drink Everclear before that. Everclear's baller as fuck compared to Pepe Lopez. No, like, that's fine. Anyways, yeah, no, this is back when I was in college, fraternity house days, all that kind of stuff and whatnot, and all standing around on the front porch taking little shots of this Pepe Lopez. Not a single one of us was able to stomach, like, we all drink for a living. And not a single one of us was able to stomach this. Like, it was someone would try to take a shot of it, instantly spit take, just everywhere. And then, like, I was like, I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to be a badass. I fucking drink it and whatnot, everything. It literally takes a good like 30 seconds later before I'm like, nope. And just like it comes back up into my throat, into my mouth as a liquid. Like it's been swallowed. I didn't vomit, but it decided to creep its way back up into my mouth and be like, no, let's try this again. And then I spit it out.
Symbiotic. Almost.
It's bad shit. So yeah, no, if you want really, and hey, maybe some people
Pepe Lopez
like,
started crawling on my arm and fucking.
Yeah, no, so that's mine. Pepe Lopez Silver, worst liquor I've ever had. I've tried a lot of different liquors. Like, I hate Jägermeister. I'll take 5 shots of Jägermeister before I take a sip of Pepe Lopez Silver again in my life.
What was yours?
I mean, yeah, I'd probably go Seagram 7 for sure.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't like Seagrams, but worst?
I was like 15 and it's my own fault. I was 15. This is the first alcohol. It was the first time I ever got fucked up. And my mom split with my stepdad at the time, so we moved into this double wide trailer. My buddy Zach came over, and we're just getting my mom. I don't know how we got a handle of Seagram 7. I don't know how we did it. It could have been the Seagram's VO, or it could have been I don't remember.
Well, VO's the Canadian one, so you should be all about that shit, Paul.
But I think now that you say that, the taste of it would fuck me up if it was the Canadian. So it was just the Seagram 7. And I drank so much of it and listened to so much Frank Sinatra and ate too much SpaghettiOs the same night to where I just...
What's wrong with Frank Sinatra?
No. It was just the combination of mainly
Old Blue Eyes, man. Old Blue Eyes.
I love how you're talking about spaghetti and Seagram 7 and like all these things don't go together, and then you're like, and Frank Sinatra was a part of it. Like that was part of the fucking problem.
Well, that's the fucking cherry on top of your night, man.
Hold on.
All right, continue with your...
New York.
I fucking love Frank Sinatra. He's a good guy. He's a great music.
You know him personally?
Yeah. Met him in...
Hey, we should try to get him on the podcast sometime, man.
Get Frank Sinatra on.
We need a medium.
No. Anyways, continue with your Seagram 7 is your least favorite.
In the master bedroom of this double wide trailer, I projectile vomited SpaghettiOs.
So the closet.
Everywhere. No, double wide trailers are huge, man. They're huge. Jacuzzi tubs, everything. Vomited it everywhere. So anytime I drink Seagram 7, it just fucking... I can't do it.
Just brings that back?
Yeah, I just can't. The taste is not there. It's disgusting.
That's fair. I have that same kind of situation with something called vampire vodka, but I still don't consider it the worst I've ever had. Like, I will never drink it again in my life because I had an awful experience with it when I was like 15. But
if you mix liquors in, I'm not going to like the Four Horsemen. I couldn't take that shot. That's disgusting.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. It's not fun. You don't do it because it's fun.
Yeah. What about you, Jay West?
Oh, mine was McCormick's extra dry gin.
Ugh.
Just the straight double shot of it. Like, back when I was 22 and I was living out in South Kansas City, and we obviously, like, we had a limited budget, so we tried to get it as fucked up as humanly possible, but still be able to make it to the bar to, like, try to save money. The only thing that was left over at my house was, I don't know who the fuck came over to my house and left fucking McCormick's extra dry gin. But that was
why would they leave that? Why would they not take that with them?
yeah, right. But it was the only thing fucking laying around. We were about to go out. I hadn't drank anything. I think I had just gotten off work. I was trying to like catch up with everybody. One double shot of that shit, and once again, just like your shit, like I drank for a fucking living at that time in my life. Fucking straight double shot of that shit. Literally felt like I had the fucking flu afterwards. Like it wasn't just like, oh wow, that was really rough. I need about 5 minutes to smoke a cigarette and fucking get over that. It was like for 2 hours. That shit is just like curdling in my fucking stomach. Just gin should not, first of all, gin should not be taken in shot form.
I actually don't mind shots of gin. I'm not going out of my way to do them, but I really don't mind shots of gin. I'm not going to order it, but...
That shit literally sucked the fucking life force out of my fucking body. I still managed to go out, and I think it was one of the more sober nights I fucking had because that double shot was just so fucking awful. Yeah, just don't do that shit. Shit's... Ugh.
Yeah.
Don't go out to either. Westport with the flu either.
Maybe the person who left the gin at the house had the flu, and that's how you got the flu. It wouldn't be instantaneous.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen that. Yeah. But don't get me, I still drank. I still, woke up the next day and, lived life. But man, that was a rough couple hours though after that shot. The only shot that I didn't feel drunk afterwards, I literally just fucking felt like just my body just fucking felt destroyed afterwards. It was the weirdest fucking thing. I will never do that shit again.
I don't think I've ever taken a shot of gin. And in my life, honestly, I don't really think I have.
And not the shittiest
You
possible
should. I mean,
gin
you still.
that's on the
He's
fucking
right.
market.
You shouldn't. Like, you're not supposed to take shots of gin. Like, that's not what it's fucking for.
Fair enough.
You can take shots of everything else, but nobody takes shots of fucking gin.
Not gin. What about gin and juice? Can you take a shot of that?
No,
I mean, that wouldn't be a shot. That'd be a drink.
At that point, Paul. I mean, you're the only non-bartender here, but you should
I
know
used to
that.
bartend, man. I bartended at the Well. I did.
I used to do a lot of things too. I don't claim to do them anymore, though.
You're right. All right, man. We're at the top of the hour. That one got a little loose towards the end, man. But hey, fuck it. We're gonna have some good podcasts here shortly. We'll do it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. Ready.
Me too, man. And like I said, Mike, hopefully you didn't listen to the last 20 minutes, but if you did,
No, I hope you did.
Yeah, that's who we are, man. We're true. Hey, we're gonna have a good podcast with you, man. Like I love ancient history. I love Mesopotamia. Like I said, I talked to the guy on the phone for 20 minutes. Super positive guy, great conversation. He's really well rounded. It's going to be a good podcast, and anyone out there who loves history, it's going to be fun. But at the same time, we're going to question him about some stuff too. You know, it's not going to just be cut and dry, all just history. This is how it was. Like this is his perspective on history
and how it's relevant to us right now. Because absolutely, our past is relevant to who we are now, and we need to never forget history.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mm. Rock on. Well, to all our listeners out there, to all our junkies, stay fly.
And ring the bell.
And hit the bell notification. Hit the subscribe button. And in your
what kind of run with
man?
Stay
what are you
fly
doing right
and
now?
then hit the bell notification. Go to the top right corner. It'll be there. You click it and then you got real specific.
All right, so I'm gonna redo this.
Man, you're gonna fuck up my shit.
Thank you guys for listening. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification. Hit the like button. Most importantly, and in the comments below, let us know what the worst drink you ever had was when it comes to liquor. Give us the story. We want to see it down below. What is the absolute nastiest shot you've ever taken? And to all our junkies out there,
stay fly and ring the bell.
Hit the bell notification thing.